So in day 4, it's the 4th day, and I mentioned ruminating about how to dance with a nonprofit over the next 10 years. So I've had my assistant start looking into the basic requirements for a nonprofit. The goal basically being that any money I or other people donate would not be taxable. And so then one of the things that we can learn from the tech sector is in Silicon Valley, if they're looking for a mega hit of some kind of app or software, they aim for a 10-fold improvement in the area they're seeking to disrupt. And so let's look at some of the ways that nonprofit could be disrupted, and let's look at 10 different areas. So number 1, a disruption in giving. Last time I gave $200 to Amnesty International, I asked them, don't put me on any mailing list. Please use all this money for your work. And they took the money, and after that, I have had no less than 40 envelopes from them, all very thick, containing posters and paper. And I think it'd be safe to say that those 40 envelopes have cost $40 of my 200. And so the first revolution is no paper mailings, period, number 1. Number 2, you control your content and can be anonymous or not. Number 3, you get to pick whether it's $1 a month. I think that's a great amount. Or $5 a month, or a one-time gift, and you get to designate where it goes and see exactly what that money will buy. So as opposed to just sending $200 off into the wilderness and knowing for sure that they've wasted 40 of that dollars in mailings, how about just having all your money go exactly where you want, and you know ahead of time where it's going. I have no idea what Amnesty did with my $200. And so transparency about where your money was spent and what things cost. If you want to spend it on a blindness project to cure blindness, then you know exactly it costs $3.47 to cure a blind person. So that goes then into this next category of transparent shopping. So on Amazon, anyone in the world can list a service, and you know, all I have to do is type in ballpoint pens, and I'm going to see the top 40 entries of anyone selling ballpoint pens anywhere around the world. And so number 2, an Amazon for nonprofit, where you type in blindness, syphilis, hungry children, and you get a list within seconds, not only of who's doing what in that area, but the cost. Like, is it $2.50, or is it $10, and what exactly does it buy? Now, when you click buy with one click. You are getting you're signing a contract basically with the nonprofit that you have just spent $2.50 and a blind person in Bangladesh will be cured within 2 weeks, and you get a confirmation receipt when that money has been delivered and the blind person is cured. And in an optimal situation, you get a confirmation kind of receipt, like, yes, my eyes were cured, they are 60% better, or no, my eyes were not cured. The doctor made a mistake with his knife, and I'm even worse off. Whatever the deal is. And there's also the chance to write and read reviews. So a shopping experience. Number 3, non-dogmatic research. So most of the nonprofits seem to be pretty partitioned off into their specific area of work, which means that to be, if you have interest in rainforests or this or that or the other, you've got to join several nonprofits. So non-particular research where the single focus is this: how can you spend the least amount of money to have the most amount of well-being in a given sector and overall, with anyone able to contribute research, providing it is backed up by facts. And then those are actionable. So, for example, if any research body around the world, including you and I, do a research project that says that, as far as we can tell, the area of biggest human misery is shame and sexual abuse in the Philippines, or which is something I've actually run into in my travels in the Philippines, is an extraordinary amount of violence that is correlated to the roughly 6 to 11 children families in a very poor country without infrastructure, which creates tremendous misery for both parent and child. And it is the child that bears the brunt, and the Catholic Church is actually going out of its way, lobbying for new laws such that a woman has to get a doctor's prescription in many cases just to get oral contraceptives, but is regularly being abandoned as a single mother in a very promiscuous and addictive society. And so, this is a situation where some research could be done on the exact amount of misery caused by a given law or a given amount of shame and ignorance, and what could be done about it, and how much would that cost to do that thing, whatever that thing is, on a per person basis, and what is the cost-benefit analysis, meaning if it takes $100 to effectively educate and prepare a woman to be able to manage her own children from a scientific point of view rather than a shame-based Catholic point of view, and that alleviates X percentage of spousal abuse, of this and that and the other, because it seems to, in most cases, where I've gathered evidence, being the overwhelmed, frustrated, and shamed men of large families who cannot afford them violently hurting their children. And so that's the condition. And in a culture that actually shames the child then to have anything but love for their parent, the church, rather than being there as a resource, is an additional weight of shame on that child, who I would say 60% of the women that I've talked to have been violently and repeatedly abused, from being thrown out of a window as a baby, to being beaten, to being strangled, to being shot by a pistol, all by their father. And this is just barbaric. And what would it take to stop a child from having to go through that? Basically, research on impact on human well-being, backed by facts, so that we as an individual can choose where to allocate the money based on that research. So anyone can submit research, number one. Anyone can do a cost-benefit analysis, number two. Anyone can check and question and challenge the facts, so kind of a Wikipedia of these types of things, where it is a community-based project, where scientists and projects around the world, and the focus is on educating the donor on the most effective area of possible well-being. And so this is fact-based research on areas of potent well-being, and then deciding where to place our dollars on a one-time basis or ongoing basis from there. The ability to give, loan, or make conditional, so having a flexibility of engaging on an individual basis through the nonprofit. So basically any individual could place a little bit like Kiva. Any individual could place a request for a loan or a gift for a specific thing, and have an evidence-based protocol for this that is also identity verified in some way, so that you have identity verification. And this is just to minimize fraud, because you will have some degree of fraud in this area if you're dealing with very poor countries and transferring money electronically. There's just no way around a certain percentage of fraud. So the goal then is to minimize that fraud. Now, one way is by ID verification, ID online verification, so kind of linking in with something like Facebook and online ID. In many Asian countries, you have more ID than normal, and so you can have a lot of different samples of ID. Number two, smartphone-based verification, where you can take a photograph of the different evidence and then the result, and then follow up, whether it's a loan repaid or this, that, and the other. And but the focus is on an analysis of well-being, like how much well-being would be generated for a given individual, family, community, etc., for a loan, so that there's it's not just a commercial loan. It's a loan to support someone moving in a healthy direction, or it's a gift, or it's a part loan, part gift, or a no interest loan. And that's a one-time effort. The other thing that I think is a revolution is information based on interest. So as you sign in, you've got a couple of very important things that respect your time. Number one, because I'm looking at an app interface, an Android, iPhone app interface. So number one, you rank the areas that are most dear to your heart in the list of rainforests, art, women's issues, childhood abuse, trauma, PT. You list what you care about, number one. And what that means is you get new research and opportunities to give potently in the areas you care about. Number two, the giving is organized based on volume of impact. And so by measuring, by having people who are submitting opportunities to give, measure the number of people who will be impacted, to what degree, and for how long per dollar invested, those are up at the top. And so you might get an alert on your smartphone that simply says, new opportunity to help with PTSD. Per dollar spent, one child will receive 10% of treatment. So for $10, it will sponsor the treatment of one child in a protocol that has a 60% probability of healing PTSD for a lifetime, based on this research, and this research. Would you like to support it? And you just slide the thing over your phone to buy with one click, and you will get notified when the treatment is done for the child you have helped. How much has it helped? To what degree? You'll get follow-up notification, 3 to 6 months later, has it stuck? And it's done. And you get one receipt at the end of the year for all of this nonprofit, rather than endless junk mail and this, that, the other. Another important revolution, so we're looking for a 10-fold increase in the nonprofit sector. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're on to number 7. What this is a time transformer. So what's the problem? Every human being loves to give. It's our nature. Barring abuse, trauma, neglect, loneliness, a whole variety of things that create artificial self-centeredness, children love giving. It's our nature. And that is very strong in the 0 to 20-year-old age, where you have a lot of idealism. And yet, these are unfortunately the ages at which people have no money. But they generally have more time. Not always, but generally. And then retirees also love to give. And again, they have time more than money. And so what we need is a translator that turns time into money. And it works like this. In a variety of ways. So a business that wants to give to the nonprofit sector will hire from this labor pool in a virtual arena. So first, if you have time, what happens is you decide, you list what you're good at and get reviews as you would in a typical online virtual community, number one. Number two, you list where your money will go, in what nonprofit area will be benefited. Number three, you list your price. And number four, anyone who hires you will pay money into the nonprofit, which will flow it through to the area that you're interested in. So that's part of it. The other is in gifts and thank yous. So here's an area where particularly children can play a role using app suggestions and tools where it's I want to give. So a child can sing a song. A child can make a card and take a photo. A child can create a beautiful video and take a photo. A child can gather together a group of friends and sing a choir song, can gather their favorite comedy clips and share them, can create a short story, a greeting, a birthday celebration, a puppet show, a whole variety of things that a donor can click what would, some incentives basically, so that if you give above a certain level, you can receive a personal greeting from the child that you feel the most adoration for, or that you, that you love cards, and so some of these could be mailed in the post, some of these could be virtual, et cetera, et cetera. And so any child that wants to help with a given area can do so through making giving fun for people who have money. And so we're now up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So number 9, perhaps you can help me here. Let's think what would be the most exciting way to revolutionize the nonprofit sector in the area of number 9. I think that group efforts would be a really important area. And what I'm wondering is nonprofit group efforts that are specifically designed to help human well-being in a giveaway sector, where basically the patents will be opened and individuals want to develop a technology and make it globally available. Now, this could be an app. This could be a this could be an app. This could be a footstool. This could be a massage technique, a series of videos about negotiation, basically that anyone who wants to give can get support if necessary. They can upload stuff for free for anyone that has something to do with human well-being. But if they need support, that they can list their budget, their commitment, and the nonprofit will serve as an escrow for funding that well-being project. And the final thing, I think, would be personal well-being, that your well-being as a user is a priority for the app. And so a variety of tools that will help you, the user, increase your personal well-being on a daily, weekly, quarterly, and monthly basis, from knowing the well-being events that may be happening in your area, to having health tips, to cooking tips, to recipes, etc., etc. So I think this is the a great foundation for a nonprofit revolution that is completely app-based and completely transparent, where all money is available in a public place where you can see exactly what was spent in what way and why, and where people can even vote to say, let's spend more money on this and that. That would be another, some bonus areas. So I think there's dramatic possibilities for improving the nonprofit sector. And I hope this gets you thinking in along those lines in some great directions.